A warm welcome to Business Daily right here on Trust Television. I am Yusuf Akogu. Let's take our business top stories. Glad to have you back. Now we go to the stock market to give you a highlight of how the market went yesterday. There's a new record that was set yesterday of 68,000 basis point mark. The market crossed yesterday with about 33% year-to-date gain recorded by the market yesterday. Let's look at the performance. 1.1% it ended, and of course the market cap added over 400 billion naira to the volume yesterday as well. It's 744.758 million volume. They value at 12.99 billion naira in a deals of about 11,933,000 it ended yesterday. But the remarkable performance yesterday indeed was the all share index that appreciated by 1.1% and to set a new record, a new high for the market. Of course, the last time we had this number, not close to this number indeed, was in March of 2008 before the global meltdown. Now we are having a new height in the market, at close to 70,000 basis points there. Our market is indeed chasing the rest of the market in Africa, most especially GSE there in Joburg, South Africa. Let's look at the performance in terms of gainers. Of course, the Dangote sugar was so strong there. The highest gainer on the day, 10% in gain to close at 66 naira and 55 kobo, followed by NASCON, 61 naira and 15 kobo. While John Hot also gained 9.92% to close at 1 naira and 44 kobo. Let's look at the losers. On the losing side, we have Chip PLC. It lost 9.57% to close at 1 naira and 4 kobo there. Go to Cornerstone Insurance as well, 9.29% to close at 1 naira and 27 kobo. While Sano Assurance also lost 9.09% to close there at 80 kobo per share. Let's look at the performance according to the top traded equities. Fidelity Bank, 85.1 million volume of shares. Zenith Bank followed, 75.4 million volume of shares. And of course, United Bank for Africa, UBA, all of them strong performance there from the banking sector. 60.2 million volume of shares from UBA on the day. How is this reflecting in the performance across sector? Banking sector, the highest gainer, of course. Who is surprised by that when you're seeing Fidelity, UBA, and of course, the top tier one banks there doing a very good job there. 5.65% the banking sector ended. NGS Industrial closed 0.14%. Consumer goods sector 1.57%. And of course, the oil and gas sector closed flat. No much activities there. While the insurance sector, the biggest loser on the day, 2.81%. How is the rest of Africa doing? Let's look at Joburg in South Africa closed strong, 0.79%. If you go to Ghana, it also closed up there marginally, 0.02%. But in Kenya, it's a different story, 0.04%. The market closed in the negative territory. These are the highlights of the stock market trading on the continent on Monday. That will go on a very quick break now. When we come back, we go into our discussion. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go into our discussion. Subsidy removal. Nigerian Labour Congress shunned the federal government yesterday, and this nationwide two-day warning strike has started today in Nigeria. The question is there crack in the union's negotiation with the federal government? We saw the TUC and, of course, the NLC are actually not operating along the same line. And I have joining me in the studio Mr. Phanuel Lawrence. He's a public affairs analyst. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. Later on the show, I'm expecting Mohammed Sheikh, the General Secretary of Nubife, to join me. And of course, we'll also get update from Kano State as well. Let's start from here now, Mr. Phanuel. The NUC, TUC, and the NLC, they seems to be operating at cross, they are not at variant with their decision. The one is it seems to be on the side of the federal government, while NLC is, in quote, is saying to be on the side of the people.
Well, in my own opinion, I would rather say the both are right in their standing, but looking at the current economic situation in the country, looking at the tension in the country, most especially for the fact that the Presidential Petition Tribunal will be delivering its judgment tomorrow. We already know the tension around the country is heightened. So the timing for the warning strike, for me as a person, I think is ill-timed, in as much as strike is a good thing. And the NLC has, within its powers as vested by the Constitution, it has the power to go on strike. But it's ill-timed. And looking at it from the background that just in the month of August, just on the 2nd of August, NLC did a one-day warning strike. And the president had addressed the nation on the 31st July. Now, rolling out his the plans he has towards revamping the economy and the things the government seeks to do to be able to cushion the effect of the fuel removal, subsidy removal on the economy. So I think that the TUC is on a very good path to continue dialoguing with government, because it's barely a month that the president rolled out his economic plans.
The cabinet
and the cabinet is just settling in place. So the NLC, for me, I think they are just heating up the policy, the polity. Now they needed to give the new ministers the time, give the government the time, since the government is already saying this and this and this is what we are doing. And negotiation has been ongoing. So the NLC, for me, is being hasty. I don't know. Joe Ejiro is Joe Ejiro. He seems to have so much energy to dispense.
All right. Yes. Let's just hold your thought. Let's go to Kano. I understand Idris Jibrin joined me there from Kano State to give us the situation report in Kano. Good morning, Idris.
Good morning, Yusuf.
Yes, we are hearing that the NLC in Kano State is enforcing the strike. What more can you tell us about it?
Exactly. Early this morning, like you know, the Nigerian Labour Congress has declared this their 2 days industrial action. And early this morning, I went out some of the civil service buildings, and I found that the officials of the NLC are going places and places to make sure that people comply with the 2 days warning strike, especially in government buildings. I went to Audubako Secretariat this morning, which of course is the heart of the state civil service. And I saw a lot of NLC officials trying to ensure compliance. And also I have noticed that some of the banks have also closed down, only that people can use ATM, but you can't enter inside the bank and say you want to do transaction or something like that. But then, you know, Kano is a hub of business activities. I noticed that markets have opened. People are still going to the market, but people are not anyway coming out as early as possible as they used to. So generally, the strike, there is a high level of compliance among civil servants here in Kano, and also in some of the private establishments like the banks, as I told you earlier.
Interesting there. Have you made any effort to see whether the airport, the aviation sector, is complying with the strike as well?
No, I don't think, because the airport is up and running, and even this morning I spoke with someone who told me that he's flying from Abuja to Kano. I'm not sure if the airport authority have totally shut down, because some people are going to the airport, and I didn't go there, but I'm planning to go there maybe later today. But someone told me that he's flying from Abuja to Kano, which means the airport is working.
Okay, Idris, before I let you go, you know, Kano is a commercial city. Given the NLC desire to continue with this 2-day warning strike, what implication will it have on the economy of Kano? Hello, Idris?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so what implication will this strike have on the economy of Kano State?
Well, generally, you know, Kano is a hub of business activities. If these continue, a lot of things will automatically shut down, because, like I told you, banks are already beginning to close, even though not all of them, but many banks are beginning to close. And by the time banks closes, which means people cannot have access to money to go to their business activity, their business places. So definitely, although it's just 2 days, but if it continues like this, it's going to affect the economy, because I learned that even the transport sector, some of the motor parks are planning to also comply and shut down operation, which means you have a lot of things to contend with. So if it continues like this, definitely it's going to affect the economy of the state.
All right. I must thank you, Idris Jibrin, Trust TV correspondent there from Kano. I must thank you for your contribution. We'll keep a tab on you to so that you can keep giving us the updates.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Phanuel, if listening to Idris, there seems to be more compliance in Kano.
Yeah, I think the compliance, we expect to see a nationwide compliance. But like it is already said, for TUC, they've chosen the path to continue negotiations with the federal government, which for me, at this time, that is a noble thing to do. The strikes now, these strikes are going to lose its relevance and the intended outcome if we continue on incessant warning strikes and all of this. I think that looking at the situation of the country where we are, it will be most beneficial for the NLC to give the federal government the benefit of doubt. For the very first time in a long while, we've seen a president who is proactive. We've seen a president who is people-centered, who is people-driven. Now, because before now, we had a situation where the president hardly communicates to the nation. So, but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the 31st had come out. And let me just quickly run through the takeaways from his speech on the 31st. He said that the federal government was going to disburse 75 billion to fund enterprises at 9% per annum, 125 billion to energize the MSME, 200 metric tons of grains was to be distributed across the federation, 225,000 metric tons of fertilizer seedlings and other inputs were also to be distributed across the federation, 50 billion naira each to cultivate 150,000 hectares of rice and maize farms, 50 billion naira each to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat and cassava, 100 billion to acquire 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fuel buses, and also a review of the minimum wage. Now, some of which are in line with the demands of NLC.
But the question is this: how long do we have to wait for all of this to come to fruition?
Yes. Now, the cabinet has just been set. The ministers just resumed barely 2 weeks ago. Now, you cannot expect magic. Now, government needs time. And federal government, in demonstrating its willingness, has already agreed to release 5 billion naira loan to state government, and a release of 2 billion naira has already been disbursed.
But the thing is that the NLC itself is actually is against the federal government using state governors to distribute this palliative, given our experience with COVID-19.
Now, they may have their reasons, but do not forget that we operate a federal system of government where You have a government at the state, the subnational, and the local governments. Now, while the federal government is that powerful, but the federal government cannot do as much as what the states can do. And the states equally cannot do as much as what the local governments can also do. So you need the synergy across the 3 tiers of government. So using the state governors as a channel for reaching the grassroots, I think is a noble idea. But however, where I have my own worries as an individual with the whole situation is the palliative. When we say palliative, we should not be talking about palliatives. We should be talking about bringing in policies, bringing in long-lasting solutions that addresses the issues at stake. Because when you say palliative, what is palliative? Palliative is a medical, yes, it's a medical term. Now, just like a cure that you give to something that does not completely cure the cause of the disease. And that's not what we want. So what you see across the states now is a situation where food is being shared and all of that. No, that's not what we want. What we want is for the state governors also taking a cue from Mr. President to begin to tell us what their economic blueprint is for their various states. How do they intend to revamp the economies of their state? How do they intend to create jobs? How do they intend to deal with the issue of insecurity, which has increasingly affected a farming, most especially across states in the north. Now, yes. So what are their plans to address these issues? And also for the NLC, most of the time, you know, they're talking about wage increase and all of that. But away from that and beyond that, can we be talking about conditions? What are the working conditions of the Nigerian civil servant? What are the working conditions of the average Nigerian?
I think that's going to be a long process if we want to look at that, because when the subsidy was removed, there was nothing was put on the ground to cushion the impact of the subsidy. It was just announced subsidy is gone by Mr. President, and we're actually seeing the ripple effect of that on every single Nigerian. You can't deny the fact that people are actually suffering at the moment. The cost of living has gone up, so those paying school fees is more like times 3 or times 4 of what they were actually paying before, and you are still on the same income. How are you going to survive that?
Now, these are the issues these are the issues I am
but
saying.
The thing is that the government keep telling Nigerians to be patient, make sacrifices. Well, in Nigeria, is it government that should make sacrifice for the people, or people should sacrifice for the government?
All right. Now, like I said before now, if you look at what are the practical steps that Mr. President has taken within this period of time to show commitment, I will say that the Tinubu-led administration, within the 100 plus days that they've been in office, they have shown commitment already to say, okay, we are ready to deal with these issues. What they need is time and further negotiation, continuous negotiations, because some of these things are not things that will be...
If you're saying commitment, many Nigerians will not agree with you.
No, many
Nigerians are more concerned about what is on their table.
No, listen to me. Now, when you keep talking about what is on their table, now you also have to look at issues beyond the now. And the issue of what is on the table is why we are here. Now, because before now, we had a president in 2011, 2012, who had proposed to remove subsidy, but we said no. And the economy was already suffering even at that time.
Mr. Phanuel, the funny thing is that the same people that are taking out subsidy now were those that said no at that time.
Yes, that's politics at play, sir. Now you need to understand that.
At the expense of Nigeria.
Of course. Now that's politics at play. Now, you also need to understand that the peculiarities, the peculiarities in 2011
if we are taking out subsidy, if we are taking out subsidy in January 2012,
yes,
will we be still talking about subsidy by now?
No, we wouldn't have. We wouldn't be talking about subsidy. So who is losing? We are losing. We are losing. And how we are losing is this. You see, I always say that if you are not well, when you have malaria, I always advise my friends, I say, take complete treatment of malaria. Don't take partial treatment of malaria, because of what? It will still come back. So now, where are we? We are in a situation where we keep running away from the realities. The truth is that subsidy is scam, and we have seen it. for anybody to still be talking subsidy, to still be supporting the idea of bringing back subsidy or which subsidy should have remained, I think that person is not thinking straight. However, now that subsidy has been removed and the federal government has been able to tell us that, okay, we are saving money. We've seen how the fake allocation has increased. Now there is more money coming to the center to be shared among states and local governments, which means government now has more money. Now the question now is, what are we doing with these monies? The monies should be channeled in infrastructural development, channel in welfare.
If you are said you're earning more money and it's not impacting on the lives of your citizens, you have done nothing really.
Now, you can be, like in the current situation we find ourselves in, now look at the economic implication also of wage increase. I am not saying the government should not increase review, they do an upward review of the wages of Nigerian civil servants and even the private sector. I'm not saying that. As a private sector player, I have increased the salary of my staff by 20% already, cut down the number of working days to be able to help them save because of the cost of transportation. Now, these are measures I've taken as a private individual to ameliorate their sufferings. However, now, the government here, you are not talking about one person. Now, the decisions government take, most especially when it comes to the issue of wage and all the like, has a wider implication on the economy, because you are also looking at inflation. You are also looking at the government's ability. Does the government have the capacity and the ability to sustain, to pay? So we've had situations where even when the federal government is willing to pay a certain amount or to pay a certain amount as a minimum wage, the states are unable to because of paucity of funds and all of that. However, what I'm saying here is this. The government is just settling down. TUC has done the right part by continuously negotiating, leaving that door for negotiation open, which is the right thing to do. Give it time. But to just come up with the issue of strike today, one strike tomorrow, no, I don't think that is the way forward.
There's a committee set up by the government.
Yes.
You know, remember during the last strike, the protest the NLC did the last time. That was later suspended.
That was on the 2nd August.
That was later suspended.
Yeah.
A committee was set up to engage with the two unions, the TEC and of course the NLC.
Yes.
But since that day that the committee was set up, they have not had one meeting with the unions.
Yes.
And now the union are saying that it's only when the issue is strike threat that the committee will start approaching them for a meeting. Is that the right way to go?
That's not the right way to go.
Will you blame NLC in that situation?
I will still say they are being hasty. Why? Because as at August 2nd, we did not yet have ministers. Now, the ministers...
But there was a team that was negotiating with NLC.
Now, you cannot have a minister and then you have a committee that the minister is not part of. Now that you have a minister, a minister of labor, whose responsibility is to oversee labor-related issues. Now, it is for the minister to now work with the team or however reconstitute the team or make themselves part of the team or however. But the minister must be involved. So as at August 2nd, when NLC went on the one-day warning strike.
The minister has been in office for over 2 weeks.
Yes.
And he has not in any way engage NLC or other trade union Congress, TUC, until this strike threat was issued.
You also need to understand that before now, the minister is not a returning minister. He's a new minister assigned, given that portfolio. Now, NLC, the labor issue is not the only issue on the table. There are other issues too that the minister is also attending to and dealing with. However, like I said, you need to give them time to settle down, look at these things holistically, understand what the issues are. Before now, the minister has never been part of the labor movement. So does he even understand the issues at stake? So you need to give him time to be briefed on the issues.
He's a member of APC. He's been governor.
To be briefed on these issues, advise adequately, and then the issues can now begin to be looked into.
All right, I think we'll continue on this discussion tomorrow because the strikes still continue tomorrow. I must thank you, Mr. Phanuel Lawrence, Public Affairs Analyst, for your time on the show today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, for some reason, network challenges, we couldn't get Sheikh Mohammed, the General Secretary of Nubife, but we hope to get him on the show as we probably tomorrow or later this week. With that is a wrap on the show today. Join us tomorrow for more. I am Yusuf Akogu.